Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast. This is episode 44. I am your host, Supreme King, and joined as always, I'm with my co-host. His name is...
It's your guy Omezis.
Yes, and how you doing today, sir? How's everything
I'm
going for you?
doing all right. With the nice weather came all my allergies, so I gotta adjust
What you mean all
something
your
here.
allergies this summer, almost? It was like 80
Yeah,
something for like 2 days.
yeah, that weather change hit me. Like my allergies go crazy during the weather change. That winter to spring or fall to winter, like I
Screw
go
winter
crazy.
2023. That's all I'm
I miss
saying.
it.
You miss it. Man, it was hot. If anything, I had to like literally just turn the air on for the first time ever this year. Cause I was about to sweat one day. Like one of the days
Yep.
where it was like 81, 82. I was like, all right, I gotta turn the air on. I think that was either yesterday or the day before. I had to turn the air on. But yeah. Anyways, on the agenda for today, we got the PlayStation showcase of Final Fantasy 16. I'm actually going to start with that. Then we're going to talk about Redfall. We're going to talk about a lot of other news and rumors and some gameplay footage from like Dead Island 2. And then we're going to end it with a couple different items for like TV shows and stuff like that. So hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, go check out that one video I just put out that was like me showing off about 20 new games that I don't think a lot of people have taken a look at. So don't let it just go under your radar. There's a lot of gems in there, and almost everything there is like $30 and below. Almost everything. It was pretty cheap coming out the gate, and I know like Steam and other places, they'll have like these sales that are just going to make those pennies on a dollar basically. So definitely check out a lot of those games. I want to feature quite a few of them going forward, like in the podcast especially. But anyways, PlayStation Showcase to start this off for Final Fantasy 16. I thought this was cool. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
Okay. I thought it was really good. What struck me, it was one of the lines that they threw in. I know sometimes when you hear a number added to a game, it's always like, damn, I gotta go back to the original or I gotta read all this stuff. And they were like, you don't need to know nothing from the previous ones in order to jump in and enjoy this. Which I think is a very important thing to mention if you're hitting like 16. But overall, the gameplay looks great.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy is always like that, but I guess for anybody who doesn't know, now you would know. Because I remember being really confused when they did 10-2. I was like, why
Yeah,
did you need to have 10-2? Like, why is that not 11? And then that's because at the time I was like more new to Final Fantasy, and then I found out it was because like they had their own individual stories and they were doing a sequel to that particular story, and they usually don't do it, or they usually don't keep the same stories going over and over. So I was like, okay, all right. So yeah, so 16 is a whole new story, and the big change here, this is what I like the most, is they took away turn-based combat.
yeah,
I know some people probably might not like that. They might feel like that's not like how you should play the game, because I know there's a lot of people who feel like you should not play Elder Scrolls in third person and it should always be in first person, despite
oh,
the later ones having third person view. Um,
I played it third.
so yeah, so the biggest reason why I did not play Final Fantasy 7 remake right away was because, well, I have it, which is funny. I have, or at least I have the PS Plus version of it. Um Technically both. There's two versions of it, right? There's one called like just the remake, which I think is the PS4 version, and the PS5 version had the name Intergrid afterwards, I think. And
Yeah,
I think they gave that one away too. But I think in that version they left the DLC out to make you pay for something, I guess. But I didn't actually play it because I didn't like the turn based when I played the demo, which was released like period. I think that was just like a demo you can just get. I think around the time the lockdowns first happened in 2020, it was like April sometime in 2020. They was just like, here's the demo for this game, and that was like a very, very anticipated game because it was taking them forever to do. And I thought everything leading up to the turn base was cool. I thought it was excellent, actually, because I really liked the art style and I liked the graphics in general. And Cloud with his big sword was cool. The second we got into that one boss fight area, and they just like freeze framed my camera, or they freeze framed it and was like, here's this like NFL like blitz thing that came on the screen. I was like, here, choose this or that, like strategy real quick. I'm like, I'm in mid swing. Like I was kind of annoyed by that. That kind of like was playing along, but I was more focused on like just the action part. And I kind of got turned off by it, and then I was not doing it right, I guess. And then I guess you can switch from Cloud to other people that was on the team when you was fighting the big robot, and I didn't want to switch to anybody else. I wanted to stay as Cloud, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to play that, so I kind of just didn't.
It can be jarring if you don't know it's a strategy-based game and you go into it thinking attack and such as strategy. That can be a very jarring change.
I do want to give it another chance, though. I want to go back and try it again from the beginning of the game, because I do have that version of it through PS Plus, and I was like, all right, I do want to try that again at one point and see if I can like it, because I kind of just wrote it off in that one playthrough of the demo, and that was only in there for like an hour, you know. And maybe that's not enough time overall if you're talking about a game that's like, you know, a remake of a big anticipated game for a lot of people. But enough about 7. This is about 16. Now the difference is with 16, you know, they take that out and it's pure action. And so it's right up my alley at that point. And I liked their confidence that they have with this, because they really showed you like full showcase of this, and they didn't really do like a direct where they just throw like a bunch of random games in the beginning and then give you like maybe 10 minutes of it. It was like, no, this is like full 25 minutes, and it was the whole game, and majority of it was gameplay. Like there was a little portion in the beginning where they were just kind of talking about the character and he's walking around in a world or whatever. But then they was just showing like these series of just boss fights of just all of these massive Megazord sized creatures. And you know, I really liked it. It reminded me of like a cross of like Devil May Cry in a way, or not Devil May Cry when he doesn't jump, like when he's grounded, but then mixed with like old school God of War. Because a lot of creatures was just huge. They were just huge. And that was like big with God of War. God of War 2 and 3 is in particular, because they were just like fantastic games. And so this kind of looked like that, but it was just like a lot more flashy with the colors and everything. And I liked it. I actually think this might be that last game that might be in the Game of the Year contender slot. Because there was like a bunch of them that we mentioned before, and I think this one was that last one, because I remember saying like there's one other spot that was missing, and this one might fit it. It might fit it.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, the combat looks great. Like I don't mind turn-based game, but like sometimes I don't think turn-based suits everything, and I do think the flashiness of this is going to be a big draw. And it makes me more interested in it personally. No, it looks great. The fighting looks great. It looks like it's a very involved and nice story, and I love story-driven games. Yeah, I'm interested in jumping into this one.
They put more emphasis on the blood on that one kid again, which I remember before. I was like, aren't they pushing it a little bit? Because in like America, they try to like steer away from like children being portrayed a certain way, because I think there's a rule that people don't know, like kids are not supposed to be shown getting killed in horror films. And I don't know if
Right.
I think they loosened up on it a little bit more recent years, but like,
They could be older, like, but they still don't want little kids. A perfect example for anybody who
yeah,
played Detroit Become Human. If you run into any of the parts where the little girl dies, if you
yeah,
manage to not like save her, the camera always pans away for anything violent. Like
okay,
that old little house part. For those who played the game know what I'm talking about. The little house part. If you fail at that part, you end up dying. The camera just like it's implied. It's not shown. Uh, and it's because she's like super young. Like
the
you're really
most
not.
annoying one, and to just a side note for a split second, was the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Because they just straight took the camera and just put it in the sky. I was just like, why am I even watching?
Yep.
Like, how do you have a like battle royale fight to the death movie where you literally don't show it? I was just like, no, there's just no point. But anyways, they were showing this kid's face because I remember the first time they showed it, I was like, oh, that's kind of bold. Then they showed it again here, and he's just got a full face of blood. Like, yo, who is this kid with this full face of blood? But yeah, so they went there. It's going to be a great
Well,
game. I don't think it will be a day one buy for me. And it might be for reasons that's not fair to this game, but I just think I want to hold off on purchasing anything like right away from Square Enix. Period. Like I think,
so one, yeah, yeah, that's fair because Square Enix has not had a great track record as of late.
yeah,
So that's very fair.
this is still one of their bigger name projects. It's not experimental and it's not like a throwaway like online only thing though. But it's just they've had like a really bad track record lately because even Marvel Avengers, which is set to delist soon, was considered being attached to like one of the biggest names at the time because I think they announced this at the time. In-game was just like the biggest thing in the movies. Period. Right? They announced that, and then the game came out, didn't do so well, and then they're just like giving up on it, I guess. But I don't think this Final Fantasy game is going to be in that category. I think it's going to do fine. It's just I want to like at least wait to see like streamer footage probably, and then enough reviews from real people and not like these publications, just to see like
Yeah, I'll say it.
yeah, you'll say it. I guess IGN. So yeah, but as far as the game of the year contenders, I want to throw this in there next to the ones that we've mentioned before because I think in total is going to be 6 at the actual show, right? I don't think they do 7, but the 6 so far I was saying was Hogwarts Legacy, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man, and then Dead Space, Resident Evil 4 remake, right? And then this will be number 6. The only other one that I said might have been there would have been Starfield, but they didn't show as much yet. And then probably the next topic is probably a reason why, but yeah, this one probably slides right in. I really do think that they're not going to put 2 horror games in there, Dead Space and Resident Evil. I think it's going to be one or the other, and it probably is going to end up being Resident Evil 4. But so far, I think those 6 games are probably going to be in that category because they're right there with the popularity. Typically, it's only AAA games there unless they just really don't got nothing. And this year they got all AAA games, and so I think that's what it's going to be. Does that sound right? What else would you put
Yeah,
there if that's not it?
Forspoken. No. Yeah.
Forspoken.
Those sound like the top ones. Trying to think if there was any like sleeper hits that popped up.
Yeah. I think this will be there. Final Fantasy 16. I don't think Final Fantasy 16 is going to win though, but I do
Nah.
think it's in the category. But it looks way more of like a battle royale this year compared to before. Like when it was It Takes Two, it really just looked like they threw games up there. It really did.
Don't get me wrong. I do think It Takes Two was great, but I agree with you.
Yeah, it was still great. Last year it was pretty clear the two that it was going to be coming down to. But yeah, this year is really a toss up. It's really a toss up. But yeah, we can move forward. I do want to talk about this. Really doesn't have to be too long, but the debacle happening with Xbox. That could be the next topic. Basically just surrounding Redfall. Apparently Redfall is going to be 30 FPS at launch. Yeah. And I think this is going to be on both the console side and PC side. It's not just console side. Where just at launch it has to be 30 FPS until they work out some kinks, whatever's going on with it. Maybe they ran into some bugs or something. But people took it and just went way too far with it. That it was just like terrible, and it needs to be delayed some more. It probably could have been delayed, but I don't know how long it would take them to do a 60 FPS patch. But the key thing about it is just that it's saying it's at launch and that it is still coming. We don't really know how long it's going to take them. It might only take them like a month. You know, it might take them just because I don't know how much longer it can be if it's just the patch and not like, oh, it's launching without co-op or it's launching without like a whole bunch of maps or something like Halo. Like, it's literally just the patch.
Either you get 60 frames per second or you get 4K.
Yeah.
So, do they focus on the 4K part?
Apparently.
That's why you don't get the 60 frames per second? Because, like,
I guess.
I don't know. I do feel like shooters need to be more 60 frames per second as opposed to looking prettier. Like, I feel like you need that fast reaction. But, you know what? Again, like you said, it is that launch sort of thing. But there is that issue of just, again, it's another game launching incomplete.
Yeah.
If it's a patch that needs to be added later instead of just being at launch.
It's a bigger issue for just the industry, but because it's Microsoft, it's being taken a little bit, more, like it's a bigger issue because it's Microsoft, I think. But I do think that if it really just needed 30 days, they could have just gave it 30 days. The problem with it though is like there was no way for them to win, because if they pushed it back 30 days and didn't say anything, the news would have probably been way worse. Like, oh, it's really just not ready and they just have like this huge problem, and they probably was just not trying to have that kind of news. Yeah. 60 FPS, if that's the only thing, then it's probably not going to be that bad overall, because what we're talking about is probably a month or two and then it'll come. I don't know.
Did they ever mention they planned on doing 60 frames per second?
Say that again?
Did they ever mention that they were even planning to do 60 FPS?
Well, I mean, it was pretty much implied. It was implied, and I think all of their footage initially that they were showing to advertise the game was still in 60 frames. And I'm pretty sure it was applied, because at the same time, it's still next gen, and that's like the biggest draw of next gen, because we have 4K already. And so they're just talking about keeping the frame rate or bringing the frame rate back up, because I believe the old systems at 30 frames, it was not supposed to be 30 frames. It was just they had to work with what they had. Because before that, other games ran at up to 60 frames. They just didn't have the resolution. Where this one, they just went strictly for resolution because they couldn't get the performance for PS4 and Xbox One. Okay. But yeah, it should be 60 frames at launch. I would imagine that it should also hit a target of 120. They should have that 120 type of feature as well, but I don't think there was any news about that at all. If you are somebody who's just playing strictly on Game Pass, it's like it lessens the blow anyway, because you're going to get Game Pass and you have everything else anyway, and then there's also the There's another game that I don't think I want to mention right now that is going to be a Game Pass exclusive and Xbox exclusive that's launching like the same week as Redfall. That's getting no traction whatsoever. But that's something I'm going to mention in another video. So stick tuned to that. That's actually a big problem I think Xbox has overall. They don't advertise their other stuff within their service as an individual thing. Like, this is here. They just advertise, here's the service, go get in there and figure it out. It's like, well, if you tell the people what you got, I mean, yeah, but
yeah, right.
Redfall at 60 or at 30 frames at launch seems a little unacceptable, though. I will admit, it does seem a little bit unacceptable, just because of the fact that, you know, it's a $500 console or thousands of dollars on PC, and then you did just recently take away that dollar option for people to like get in on like a really, really cheap rate if they're just getting in the Game Pass for the first time or whatever. You took that away. And you didn't really have as many first party titles in there since the start of this generation. There's a few of them, and there's a lot of stuff that they don't advertise as well, but this was like one of their big games, though. This was like a big Bethesda game
if you don't have Game Pass.
Yeah. So yeah, that's bad. The key thing, though, they did just say is at launch versus something like Gotham Knights. So it was just like, screw you, you're not getting it. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
They was just like, nah. But we don't know. It could be ready within 30 days. It could be. It might not take, because this don't seem like it would be like a Cyberpunk thing. Like, we're just gonna launch the game, whatever, and then we'll work on it over time. It's like, no, it's really just a frame rate patch that's just not available. And you know, modders on PC will probably figure it out anyway. No different than the people who like modded and like they modded a pirated version of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and ran it at 1080p at 60 frames. I don't know if you saw that video. Well, there was videos of that.
Good.
Yeah, that they did that in they did that on Twitter and a couple other places, and they kind of blew up where people was able to see it at 60 frames. This was like peak when the game was like broken, and it had like the worst press ever. Somebody, I don't think it was on Steam Deck. It was just on PC, and they did it. So some modder somewhere is going to figure out how to do that, and they're going to show it. So the worst thing that they can do is let the modder like outperform the $1 trillion company. Like, that's the one thing. So it's like, at least get the 60 FPS working before the PC modder from the basement. If they can do it first, that's bad. Because that reminds me of the situation with Halo. Remember how they were able to get split screen? They got split screen in Halo Infinite.
Yep.
And like the official, you know, $1 trillion company that hires the best minds that they can get couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And just scrapped it completely. And it's like, how do you get this person who's able to figure it out? Like, they were able to figure out co-op and split screen. How? So, yeah, get it done before the modder. That's the final thing I can say on that. I mean, it'll probably still be a dope game. It'll be a dope game. There are still people out there that prefer the fidelity because of the graphics. I could see that if you got like one of them fancy like 8K ultra wide whatever, you know, if you got one of them, then I could see it. But I would prefer 60 because I remember when we first started the pre-sequel on Borderlands, you remember me like, wait a minute, let me get in the settings, because I was moving slow and I was like, something is not right here. And it was like, oh, this is older. Remember, they don't have this in there. And I was like, but wait a minute. I'm like, but I'm on the PS5. Like, I want to play this with 60 frames, and I kind of had to get over it, and I got over it. So I got over it, but at the same time, it's like, that was the pre-sequel. That's like an old game. It's not even Borderlands 3. And it's like, yeah, this is going to be brand new coming out next month or in 3 weeks. And yeah, so they'll get it together. They better get it together. Anyways, speaking of fan made projects, fan made hacks, whatever. This is not really a hack. I want to talk about one of your topics, Unrestricted, which was
Yeah.
based on the undefeated demo that is still available for anybody on PC, Steam. This is like a Superman-ish game, but it's not officially featuring Superman. Not even Brightburn. It's just here's a dude. And I remember the progress that they were making on this. They added a lot of Goku stuff too, like a lot of beam blasts and stuff, projectiles.
Yes. So I
But
think it was because they didn't want like to run into a copyright issue where
yeah,
everybody's like, "This is Superman," so they gave him
yeah,
some other powers as well. Uh, but yeah, he's like using his special abilities to destroy monsters. You get to fly around and do all your Superman fused with Goku stuff. Uh, it looks great. They're working on it. It's the release date will be announced soon, but you can wishlist it on Steam.
okay. I didn't know that they had changed the name though. I thought like Undefeated was going to be. They were just gonna re-release it,
Yeah.
kind of like multiverses in a way, where they're just like, well, we're coming back with it later.
That's what I
That's what I.
thought.
Yeah.
Until I just randomly a video just popped up. It was like Unrestricted, a new Superman game, and I was like, "Let me check this one out." And they're like, "Hey, do you remember the people who did Undefeated? Well, here's what they're officially working on now." And I'm like, "Oh, like I've randomly found it." Uh, yeah. So I think it's because they're also changing up some of the premise and everything because you're not in like the city, you're on like some other planet. Uh, everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks pretty cool. You fly around, you have like blast and vision and like an ice beam from your hands and a Kamehameha wave and uh it just you had super strength, you feel like Superman going through it and everything. It's cool because it's like a really small team, if not just like one person like working
Yeah.
on this. But it looks good. Though Unrestricted, I would say check it out. Try out Undefeated if you haven't. It's a really short, sort of like demo of what they're trying to do. Hopefully, if these blow up, like we can get, if this isn't already good enough, we can get like some AAA studio where Warner Bros. Can wake up and actually give us a Superman game.
But do you think this one's gonna be priced like that? Like this is gonna be a AAA game, or like
No, I don't
not
think it's gonna
AAA,
be.
not AAA production, but priced like a AAA game?
No, I don't think so. I think at most it'll be like at most 30. Uh, Probably less. Like, I think they know it's an indie game. The company's called Indie Us Games, so I think they understand. Like, nah, this is an indie title. Uh,
They want.
yeah,
You
I don't
think?
think I don't think it'll be priced that high.
But do they want indie money, man? Who knows, man? They might want more than indie money. Who knows? I don't know. I
We'll
know it
see.
was originally a dude who just did it as a project for fun or something. It just the traction
Yeah,
was so high that he was like, "All right, let's see what we can do." And so, yeah, the footage that they had, he was mainly fighting the character was mainly fighting like robots in a way. So it's that's not really
yeah,
concerning. It's just that kind of takes me back to Marvel Avengers a little bit. I would like to see, when it comes out that he has real enemies. Not that robots aren't real enemies. They could have the robots, but just more than just the robots.
yeah.
That's what I would like to see. So
I think usually the argument for the robots in terms of Superman is that he can go all like crazy on robots, right?
yeah.
But this isn't supposed to be Superman. It's a Superman-like game, so they can put not robots in
What was Brightbird's name? What's his name? I wonder if you could name him.
there.
Because I would want to
Hero
make him
Brightburn?
Brightborn.
I mean, he was just called Brightburn, unless you're going for the human name.
Yeah, his human name, whatever his
Oh, his
name
human
was,
name
I forgot.
was. Hold up.
It's like that's what I would go for.
Brandon Breyer.
Shout out to the Brightburn. If anybody remembers or knew, there was a movie where they basically made an evil Superman, and it looked like they was gonna do a whole Justice League, and I don't know what happened. They just kind of stopped. Maybe it
Yeah.
has something to do with 2020, but I would like to see them keep that going. But the real Justice League was lacking a little bit. Or just having some issues with so much going on with the real Justice League, and this is kind of pushing off of that as like an alternative. But if you take away the real thing, or if the real thing is just having issues, maybe the alternative just couldn't survive, and that might be why we don't see the rest of the films and stuff. But at least they got one out, and they didn't hold back on like the graphics, or not the gore, I guess. If you wanted to see it, Superman go gory, you can see it. But yeah, Unrestricted is the game. I will be paying more attention to it. I didn't know that they changed the name until like recently. I thought it was just gonna be like Undefeated full version, but
yeah, so that's what I thought.
yeah, but we can move on to a particular topic of something Superman related that they didn't change the name, but they decided to push this back almost indefinitely in a way. But 10-month delay for the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of goofy. I mean, it's like, I'm not laughing at them. I'm just kind of just like, what is that going to do? I don't think, if anything, just put what you have out. Yeah, put what you have out, and then just start on the game that everybody wanted. That's that's how I look at it.
So this game, like, it was first thought about, like, it was announced in like 2010 that they were working on a Suicide Squad game. Yeah. Everybody kept saying they're working on a Superman game, and they're like, no, we're not. Then, it was supposed to come out in 2022, and they got pushed to 2023. They got the official date for May 2023. And then after their last showing, where everybody hated on it, rightfully so, because it was just a generic
rightfully so.
And they were like, we're going to push it back, and officially announced it for February 2nd, 2024. But it's like, you can't change anything. Like, the core stuff cannot be changed. There's way too little of time to try and change what everybody complained about. So you need to just release it.
They can go get the makers of Unrestricted and be like, listen, whatever you got, just put these skins on it and give it to us now.
Yeah, that was the issue. Everybody moved generically. People didn't like the gameplay. Like, I didn't like the gameplay. Like, I wanted a solid, like, single player story.
It was to the point where I was just kind of getting up and walking away, coming back, pause it, rewind it. I wasn't even into it at all. Everybody was a shooter.
Yeah, that was the issue. Only one of them should have been a shooter.
Yeah.
You could argue too. Everybody was a shooter. Matter of fact, Captain Boomerang didn't even really use his boomerangs. He threw the boomerang to teleport, and then he started shooting. Like, it was like, okay, he should have had a bunch of trick boomerangs. Deadshot should have had all the super guns. Harley Quinn with the acrobatics, sure. And her big hammer. You can even give her a pistol. And then King Shark should have been all brute force, rip things apart, run in, take things out, tank. And they're just like, nah, everybody gets a gun. Everybody gets a gun, everybody jumps around and shoots, stay in the air and shoot the purple. Like, and I was like, that's
they jump really high and kind of just glide as they fall down. That was something I remember seeing. But yeah, so they
messed it up. They messed up the game. And it's because, you know what? That's the issue, is they messed it up because they're chasing Fortnite money. Like, everybody's like, I want to make a shooter that people play for years. And it's like, stop trying. Like, it's done. If Call of Duty has to keep re-releasing new ones to keep their interest up, you're not going to be able to make this. So just stop. Like, everybody wanted a single-player game that would have made the money. Like, it's so easy to please DC fans, and they just don't do that. That's what I'm not understanding. It is so easy to please the DC fans. They're just like, let's do what they don't want. Or let's try to attract non-DC fans. So then the non-DC fans trash it. And then now they're like, well, at least the DC fans will get it. And the DC fans are like, why do you keep giving us crap? Like, it's so easy to not do this. Like, I don't understand. They could have made a solid single-player game.
Yeah, but they was just like 10 months. So I guess the new release date is February 2nd, 2024. But that it was just kind of crazy because they were confident with that showing before, and they were really like set to bring that bad boy out in May, and they just showed a whole lot of that shooter gameplay. It was so much of it, and it was just like not liked whatsoever.
At
And
most, in 10 months, all they could do is lessen the microtransactions.
yeah,
But
that
then you're
might
going to
be
do a
it.
Gotham Knights thing where it's just this awkward thing where you could tell there was supposed to be microtransactions.
Yeah, that's such a mess. It's such a mess in itself. Because it also sends a certain message about the game too. Like it's gonna tell people that this is probably not like it's very different from Final Fantasy 16, where when they showed theirs, they're confident with it. There's no backlash, and they're just gonna keep going. So people know what they're getting. Like technically, when you push it back 10 months, it's like it's gonna have some changes, but we don't know like exactly what are the changes going to be, because graphically it's probably still going to be the same. The voice actors are all paid and done. You can't get back Batman, RIP. He's not coming back to do nothing, right? So it's like, all right, what else can you really do? And then if it's 10 months, it's like, well, like really though, what can you do in 10 months? So it doesn't look like a confident product. It looks like you're going to give people something that might be all over the place, where you make
Yep.
like some changes like in between, because before they had the same confidence as Final Fantasy 16, because they had a nice little showing, and they were showing things that was similar to that in pieces but didn't give you the detail until they was just like, bam, it's gonna have a leveling system, you're gonna customize your guns. It's like, what?
That's the other thing, too, with the Final Fantasy game or even Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yeah,
They're made to be a great game. It's like, how do we make another great Final Fantasy game? How do we make a great Legend of Zelda game? But it's like all the DC stuff that's coming out, or all the superhero stuff that's coming out. Like Spider Man is how to make a good Spider Man game, because that's what they did for Marvel Spider Man 1. And then for everything else, is how do we get the most money we can out of these fans? That's what's ruining this stuff. They're not trying to make a great game, they're trying to make a monetized game, and it's not working. That's why Avengers has failed. That's why no one's playing Gotham Knights anymore, because you didn't
oh
make a
yeah.
solid game. You tried to do a multiplayer thing, and ain't nobody playing the multiplayer part anymore. And this is gonna Suicide Squad's gonna fail too.
Suicide Squad arguably is gonna fail quicker. It's gonna fail the quickest,
Oh
I
yeah,
think. I think it's gonna fail the
oh yeah,
quickest. Um,
absolutely.
it is gonna dodge a lot of like competition in 2023 though, because the competition is heavy, like heavy for it. It was like everything that had to been pushed back. Like in 2024, it might have some a little bit of breathing room. I don't know how many things are set. Like I don't know anything that has a release date in 2024 that has like a solid date. The only thing I know is that Black Myth Wukong is supposed to come out in the summertime 2024, but I don't think they put a date out for it. And then Wolverine and other games, I don't think there's a date out for it. They just say like it's probably 2024, maybe 2025. So February is also like one of those months where certain games have been striking gold lately. But there is it's really been like the game on the screen, Hogwarts, then Elden Ring the year before. But these are games that like they knew exactly what they were going to be. They had a confidence in what they had, and
Bro,
you
Harry
know,
Potter could have easily, and Elden Ring could have easily tried to do this monetization crap, and they didn't. Right? Like everything
yeah,
unlocked is in the game. Elden Ring, everything unlocked is in the game. Like that's the
yeah,
problem. It's they need to stop trying to get greedy. Like, look, Arkham, like the Arkham games, right? Because this is supposed to be a sequel to Arkham.
yeah,
They weren't last forever sort of games. You played them, you raved about them, and then you were done. But the story was great enough that you could talk about it later. But like you were kind of done. Maybe you'll give it a second playthrough. That's what this should have been. Like Marvel Spider-Man didn't try and outstay its welcome. Like, but it's like these other ones are doing that. It's like just give a solid story. It's a superhero game.
You know what's
Let it be
interesting though
that.
too? If God of War had microtransactions like where some of those bigger weapons and things like Mimic and stuff was in the game that you just had to pay for, and it made the game incredibly easier. Like if they
Yep.
did that, I have a feeling they probably would not have won Game of the Year. It probably would have been still in the category, of course. It
Oh
wouldn't have
yeah,
won
they would have
though.
lost.
They would
They
have
would have lost.
probably lost. That would have been. It would have still had the big people, like a lot of people playing it and everything, but like because the microtransactions wasn't there and it was just a solid game, like it opened up Souls-like games to everyone. And then all these clones are out right now, right? Like all the clones of Souls-like games are coming out one by one now. You know, every couple of months is another one. And it's because they just made a solid, great game. Where Suicide Squad, unfortunately, and what's funny is like the games that were like Suicide Squad, it seemed like all of them were the same. It was just even with what was it, Midnight Suns? Like every last one of them was just coming out, and it was just like that was it. It was just here it is, goodbye.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy was the only one where people said that one was good, but it pretty much failed in a way
Because of Avengers.
because of everything else. Yeah, Avengers and yeah, and so that one just got hit in the crossfire, you know.
Yep.
So yeah,
But it's still a
Suicide.
solid single player experience, and this was
Yeah,
the time to redeem themselves. Plus, they had the whole this is a sequel to Arkham. That was all the people needed to know that they were going to go get it, and then Kevin Conroy's in it. Like it would have been great. Just make a
yeah,
solid single player experience. You can tag on later that little 4-player shooter part.
yeah. They
That
ruined it
shouldn't
too,
have
and
been
that
the
was his
fourth.
last performance too. That's the crazy
Yep.
part. Is like that's how you end it. This is his last performance.
Crash.
Yeah. The other one though, Wonder Woman is probably still really early on. But that one doesn't have the steam of the movies to carry it. Like it doesn't have that, and then all
Yeah.
the other superhero games seem to be, you know, falling off pretty hard. So
But it does depend on what comes out around that time because they James Gunn is working on a series for HBO for the Amazons,
yeah,
so those might release near each other as well. So there might be a way to make that, or if the Wonder Woman game is coming out by the time the next Superman movie comes out.
or how you feel they make a Wonder Woman game, they show it to you, and it's Wonder Woman and all the Amazon girls, and they just all have guns.
Oh, we'd be done. We'd have to be done.
And they
And we'd
give
be
her
done.
her lasso would be like the grappling hook in Halo. They just do that.
That would
I
not
would
be good.
laugh so hard. I would
That
have
would
to
not
make a full solo video where I'm just laughing
buy
and nothing
outfits.
else.
Like you can monetize the outfits.
Yeah, they'll probably still do that. Hopefully that's a full game with combat probably similar to like anybody with a sword and shield at this point. So yeah.
I'm hoping for the Nemesis system to come back.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Suicide Squad, I think they know they're dead on arrival. They're probably gonna waste more money on it to try to see what they can save, but I think they know they're dead on arrival, unfortunately. I think they know that. But I would like to go, let's just go to the middle portion early because I think we're gonna end this one early because we're going to do, for anybody wondering, a lot of our Nintendo topics will be on the next week's episode, and we're going to actually record that one early. I'll be transparent, just so you know. If there's any bigger news, I will try to cover it as I can in a regular solo video, because I also still have my secondary show that I just did not make public yet, because I don't have the graphics completely created yet. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to move on to the middle portion, which is typically our unofficial sponsor, which is Epic Games. And Epic Games is still, you know, a platform mainly on PC where you can add a bunch of games for free once a week, and you don't need your credit card. I always make sure I mention that. All you need to do is create a profile, And then you can add all these games. If you don't have a PC, once you do get a PC or Steam Deck or a lot of different devices now that's starting to come out. So if you can get your hands on one of them, log into your Epic account. You have a whole bunch of stuff that you've been collecting over the years. I've got over 200 plus games in there that I have not paid for at all, that I completely own, that I can install at any time. So the games that are available from now until April 20th. The first one is called Mordhau. I believe I mentioned that last week. Is more of like a first-person chaotic war simulator-ish game. You can have some fun with that. And then there is Second Instinct, which is the first-person shooter meets like Jurassic Park in a way. It's still going to be in early access, but I believe you will own this game when it's fully ready. This is the second time that I think that they've made this new, or made this not new, made this available for free. I don't think they're going to triple dip on this, but they did this like last year sometime or the year before. And it was in early access where you can just play it or whatever. That is actually something I was looking forward to when it is probably considered a full release. First person, you run around shooting a T-Rex from a distance and some raptors. I'm interested in that. So that's what you can add right now. And then from April 20th to April 27th, there's a game called Beyond Blue. I haven't looked that one up yet. And the next one is Never Alone. I haven't looked up either one of them yet, but those are the ones that are going to be free from the 20th to the 27th. And so you can check that out. I don't really have too many sales, but I do have one thing that I wanted to mention, which was like the Game Boy devices I was collecting. One of them was called the Mayu Mini Plus, and the other one is called Ambernick R35XX, I think. I think if you type in 35XX, it'll come up. The 35XX was the one that was like ready and available everywhere, right? So that one I think is like 55. There was an AliExpress store that I did see where they had it available for 45, and then AliExpress had this $20 off coupon, which made that thing a ridiculous steal. So if you can find it, look up the Arbonic 35XX on Google. You'll get its actual full name. Take that name, Google search it in AliExpress, find the seller who has it for 45, and then apply that $20 coupon from AliExpress, and then you'll get that dirt cheap. And that thing plays everything. I'm already working on like my version, right? So in 2 weeks though, I will give you a much more in-depth talk about that device. It's competitive to my Mini, because in that time frame I should have both, and I should have them ready to go, because I just finished all the ROM sets like this past week. That's available on it. But apparently when you introduce like a new like OS system, it opens up like DS, Dreamcast, and PSP as well, which was not originally advertised. Oh. So yeah, that thing has some weight to it for something that's like $50-$60, right? So yeah, that's what I had to mention there. Then we can go on to some other stuff. Did you want to mention about Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, so Dead by Daylight, this happened on, I believe, April 6th, so it was a little after, but they crossed over with Alice in Wonderland, so they got a few cosmetic stuff. You could be like Alice, the Mad Hatter, or like a version of Cheshire Cat for the survivors. Then they have like the Queen and somebody else for the artist. So the Huntress and the artist both got cosmetic stuff, and then Nia, Ace, and Kate, also got stuff. So yeah, they're partnering with Alice in Wonderland. It's cool that they just keep partnering with stuff, and it's always like weird out of nowhere things that I wouldn't have expected. But yeah, so you can get those skins. Game is going strong.
I was kind of confused at first, because when I looked that up, a whole bunch of like Disney cartoon looking stuff came up, and I was just like, yeah, I know that's not it. It can't be it. But then I just searched within the game, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, um, that reminds me of there's a game that they're working on, or not them, but somebody's working on, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre one,
Uh-huh.
where it almost looked like it was doing the same thing. It's just you play as Leatherface, and so they've been regularly updating that, and I think they have new trailers on it that came out last week. So I think if people are interested in that, they could check that out.
I'm
Um,
interested to see how long those ones last because like they also had the Jason one that had its
yeah,
own
that's
set of
right.
issues,
That's
but
right. Like it
the
might as well
Friday
just
the
do like an
13th,
all-in-one thing because Dead by Daylight was the closest one to see him seeming like it was all-in-one because they were
yep.
just getting a bunch of franchises like Scream, and Scream is
Uh-huh.
like a big deal right now. It's getting a big resurgence from a whole new audience with their
Yep.
newer
So
movies.
Scream is in there. The only one that got removed, I think, was the Stranger Things one. They lost a license with it or something like that. So they don't have those. Like if you already had those characters, they stayed, but you can't purchase them anymore.
Mm.
Which sucks because they had a Demigorgon as one of the villains. So if you didn't get it, as you can't play as that killer.
That sucks. Well, shout out to the PC community. Somebody will figure something out.
Oh yeah, because they're in the
Somebody
PC community for sure.
somebody will figure something out. Because the PC community has been doing their own set of remakes for a lot of like old games.
Yeah.
And there's a remake or a rumor. I don't know if this is real, but I've seen the rumor or the announcement a couple times. But Persona 3, not I almost said 5. Persona 3 getting a remake. Is this true?
Yeah, so we know they're working on Persona 6. They've announced that. However, some leaked footage of some video came out where it was like a trailer, quick trailer of like a bunch of stuff. And it looks like an updated version of Persona 3. And they also had an updated version of Jet Set Radio, like within that video footage. So it's believed Atlas and Sega are working on a Persona 3 remake, which I think is weird because they just released Persona 3 in the bundle.
Yeah,
And now they're making a remake, like a better looking version of it, which is like, okay, like what was the point of the last one then?
yeah.
Uh,
But you know what? Well, I don't know if it counts. I was gonna say they did something like that with Alan Wake, but
okay.
the next game is actually Alan Wake 2 though. It's not a remake. It's Alan Wake 2. But they did the Alan Wake
Yeah.
remaster, and it was kind of no point if you already owned it because it didn't change too many of the assets. But yeah,
So yeah,
uh,
I did not get Persona 3. So I mean if they updated everything and it looks better, that might be the one I try. Uh I'm more interested in waiting for a new Persona, Persona 6. Uh
I feel like they should put all their efforts into that. But if they got more than one team and enough employees and everything looks like it's going along without any issues or whatever, then they probably will be just fine. But if we get issues at the very end where it's just like similar to Redfall, it's like, well, you should have just been working on one thing. But it don't look like that's something that Atlas is having an issue with. Plus, the game overall, like usually that's the turn-based game that I'm more. I like a turn-based game that's like that and not action. Like if it's
yeah.
action, I want to complete the action. But this isn't like that. This is more just strictly turn-based. Um, I think it'll be fine if it's real. I will play it. I will play it if they do it. For anybody who is one of those people who really just want to go through all of them, 1 and 2 I believe are more with PS1 and Super Nintendo from what I saw. And this is funny because I saw this on the Game Boy device. So you could actually play those and the Shin Megami Tensei ones on that through emulation, or you can find the original copies and pay like $200 each for one of them. But
Ooh,
yeah,
emulation it is.
I did want to mention something because there was like one particular nitpick. I got to take this all the way back before we move on to Final Fantasy. There was two things I forgot to mention about Final Fantasy. I did have one nitpick with what I saw because I don't know if you remember they were showing the QuickTime events where you had to press X, not X, square a bunch of times. You remember that? Did you remember see that? But
I
there was
think
a
so.
point
Yeah.
where they had the dude in the ground and pound position, right? And in the ground and pound position, he was basically like moving his head so he didn't get stabbed with the sword. And then you had to keep pressing square because he's like stopped the other guy with his other arm. But when they pan back off, like, so you win that square match, right? So he pushes him
Okay.
off of him, and then the camera pans back, and your secondary character was standing there the whole time. And I was just like, why did he just do something? Like, it probably is like
That
a, it
he
probably is
cheating.
just like a issue of like they can't program it or something, or AI like intelligence or something. But
Yeah.
technically, he was standing there the whole time. If you go back and look at that one part, he was standing there and didn't do anything. I'm like, the dude was trying to stab him in the head and ground him out position, and you standing next to him. That was like my only gripe. My only gripe. But
He
I
didn't get
did.
tagged in. That was the
He
issue.
didn't get tagged. He was
Yeah,
standing
he
right next
wasn't
to
the
him.
only
Okay,
man.
it wasn't an official pin or something. But no, there was also something we didn't mention that I probably want to interject with real quick. Did you hear about the Final Fantasy Pixel Collection? You
I
hear
did
about
not.
that? So it's supposed to be Final Fantasy 1 through 6 all in one. And for anybody who is interested in the Game Boy devices, like majority of those are also on the Game Boy, Mayu Mini and 35XX, but apparently, well, between 1 through 6 they weren't all released on PlayStation 1. Some of them were on the Super Nintendo. And basically they took the whole thing, created a collection for it, and they're all supposed to be remastered. They all look like Game Boy Color. They look like, like them older looking games when you're actually playing it. But I think
Uh-huh.
the key thing for everybody was, even though it's a collection, it's supposed to be $75. And it's like
Oh
it's
wow.
more than the 70. Is not they said 75 at launch. So yeah, that was a
For 6
thing.
old games, it should be 40.
Yeah, they want 75 for us. I wanted to ask you real quick, but you didn't probably see it yet. Like, would you even consider it? Like, if you wanted to go through the Final Fantasies,
Not for
um,
75.
not for 75. So I'm just saying, wait, like I have technically access to all of those in multiple different forms, but I wouldn't mind having that collection and playing it. Even with that quality, I would still say getting the Switch version is fine. Because majority of it really is coming from PS1 and Super Nintendo, literally. So the remaster can only be so much. So
Right.
yeah, it's but it's like all platforms.
But if it's
75.
still Pixel, I don't know. I just can't pay 75 for Pixel. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't
It's
feel.
literally called the Pixel
Yeah.
Collection too.
It doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know. It's just we're past that. Like, graphically,
Yeah,
we're past that. It's cool to still play games that way. But not for 70. Like, I don't know. It just feels weird for 75. Not for that.
yeah. So, like I said before, you will probably have access to it if you get one of those Game Boy devices, the 35XX or the Mayu Mini. You'll have access to at least put it on there if you don't already have it. But if you wanted to support, yeah, 75, I wouldn't have mind playing or paying 30 for it because it's still 6 games
Yeah.
and they're RPG
I
games.
would even go 40. I would say even 40,
Yeah,
personally. But it's just,
but I
yeah.
think it is set to come out around the same time as 16. I don't think it's out yet. I think it's supposed to come out somewhere in that same time frame. It's not really as promoted. The main thing that everybody like really had weighed in on was the fact that it was 75. It's like it probably wouldn't have gotten hardly any press if it was 60. Even though like people would be like, "Oh, that's a lot," because
Which
like,
you
but
could
you get
still
6
argue, though,
games. Yeah,
$10 per game. So,
yeah, but they put that bad boy at 75. It's like actually
ugh,
more than a $70 game for
ugh.
like the oldest looking stuff that, quite frankly, could probably be played on your phone, unless you might have a higher powered phone, so maybe the PS1 version games might have a little bit of issues if your phone ain't that good, but it definitely works on the Game Boy devices and probably work on your regular PC, any version of it. But yeah, I will be interested if I didn't get around to playing one of them once I get my Game Boy devices up and running. I will be interested in buying that at 30. If it does that at Black Friday, I wouldn't mind for the collection. Then it's $5 a game. It's like you can't be mad at that, and it's all remastered. But yeah, 70. I don't know, or 75. Absolutely not. But yeah, I wanted to mention that because I thought that was interesting. But I forgot to mention it was like mentioned a couple weeks ago. I just forgot to mention it. I just want to just go ahead and just say it. But yeah, now here's a game that might be considered full price that I think looked a lot better here, coming from IGN of all places. So Dead Island 2 showed, I guess, the campaign of it.
Yeah,
was that the campaign?
It was the beginning of the campaign. The premise of the game, basically.
This looked way better than what they showed before. Completely different tone. The area, now I know it was probably just the crash site of the plane area or whatever. Way better though. Way better. Because now it looked accurate. It was like, okay, you have a destruction area or whatever, or it was just like debris everywhere and stuff. It didn't look like a paradise island. Yeah. And there wasn't any jokes of any kind here. Like before, remember they showed the dude, it was like, do you got the pizza? And it was like, what? Yep. Like what? It was like,
you run into him.
Yeah, it was just apples and oranges. It was like a completely different game almost. Like if they had put a different title on the screen, I would have thought it was a whole nother game. I wouldn't have even considered it to be the same game.
Yeah, I will say, so something that did get on my nerves where I do, because I always got to complain about IGN.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there was just like health packs everywhere that they just were not picking up. Like there was one on a wall, one on the ground. They just darted right past it. Didn't even try to pick it up.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff I remember saying, like, why didn't they pick up anything? But again, this is IGN, though. Yeah.
There were some weapons, like, in the middle of the little fight part where, like, all the infected were, like, running at you. And they were, like, they pulled out their fist because I guess the weapon broke. And it was, like, a giant just a weapon, like a hammer or something, on the ground next to them. And they just pull out their fist and just start punching. And I'm like, pick up the hammer. Like... The enemies were far enough away that they could have picked up the weapon and be okay. It was just like, oh, come on, IGN. But other than that, like, it did look great. The tension looked great. Something looked like it was going to pop out at you at any moment. Yeah, this definitely sold me on the game. I was just like, yo, I do really want to try this out. I'm still going to wait to hear how it is. Like, when it comes out, it's not a day one buy. But it is something
I still want to play the first one first too, actually, for me.
Okay.
Because I know we got it for co-op, but I was still, because I think that one's full co-op too, right?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, because they have the 6 survivors that you can pick, and then so that also looked interesting. So 6 survivors you can pick, and then there's like little skill cards you can put up to like get special, I guess, like buffs in the game and things like that. So effectively, like, a lot of them can play slightly differently depending on how you play. Like, one of them maybe moves faster, or another one's slower but he has more health or something like that. Then I'm really interested in the weapon crafting part. Like, it does look like weapons break, so you're gonna have to keep finding new ones. But it's still like, I don't know, something about like, I'm gonna put this flamethrower and connect it to this sword, so now I got a flaming sword. This seems so fun to me. That's what I want. Or like those electric Wolverine claws that they were doing in the first trailers. Like, I can't wait to make those. But yeah, I don't know if I need to play the first one before I play it, but I do want to play it though.
Yeah. I was just saying we could stick it up in between something or code something, because I don't think we code anything in a while. Or co-played is what I mean. We've co-op and stuff. But I was just saying, because I think they have some, it does have some connection to the first one. I think even
Okay.
IGN had a video about that. I was annoyed that I had to go to IGN to see this because I have came very close to figuring out a way to block them. Like I really did. Like that's usually like a social media thing, and I don't block anybody usually. But I know you could unsubscribe. I'm not subscribed to them, but I almost wanted to block them in general. After some of the gameplay footage I've seen from other games that they had shown, like I think Redfall was one of them too, where it was just like you guys don't play games. I'm convinced. Like I'm really convinced. Because it didn't make no sense, like how just in general, like when it came to just a shooter, this technically was a shooter too, but they focused on melee. Like your experience comes from all the other shooters. Years of Call of Duty has been shown directly on IGN, you know, years of all these other games that are first person shooters, and it was just like you really can't do it. Like you just can't get the concept for an official showing for a game, you know. Like I was get to the point where I was just like, I don't see why companies would just have you show something first. If anything, you just get trailer footage and you get gameplay footage to upload, but not your people playing it.
I wouldn't be surprised if IGN pays them to do it. Like if IGN got that money.
I'm just like, how hard is it to find a person to play the game though, that can actually play the game? Because this has happened more than once where you see them play something and it don't look like they know what they're doing at all. I remember seeing in the comment section, it was like, if you give your 3-year-old little brother the controller or something, people were saying stuff like that. It was just like,
I think I could answer your question though.
What?
Why? Is because they have 17.3 million subscribers and they're a legit publication. So like people
they
still
built it up over the years.
Read their articles. So
yeah, they built it up over the years for somebody who's probably casual or don't care that much. They know to like type in IGN just to see the game versus somebody who might not be casual. They might be a little bit more hardcore or just care a little bit more. They know to go to their YouTuber. They know to go to their streamer. And they know like to look up gameplay from just random Joe Schmo. You know, it just seemed like it looks so poor in my opinion. I feel like they could easily get a gamer. Like how hard could it have been to find somebody?
They should have at least one legit gamer on the payroll.
Yeah,
like one competitive shooter person just on the payroll. It's like, all right,
one of them esports people. Even if you got the worst esports league guy, I feel like they would have done a better job than what they had there for some of their other games. But at least just for the game itself, Dead Island 2 looked better here. Completely different tone, almost a completely different game, but it is still the same. And I do look forward to seeing it. So I'm way more sold on this because I remember before I was just like, who presented this before? I remember saying that, and it wasn't even coming from IGN, but they were doing IGN-ish stuff where they had like the dude on the narrating it and stuff, and he kind of sounded like he was talking on an intercom in like a retail store or something in a way. He had that kind of tone of voice, and then they just got to the dude who's just like, hey, do you got the pizza? It's like, my dude, you in a zombie apocalypse. What pizza? Who is ordering a pizza? From where? In a zombie apocalypse on an island. It didn't even make sense.
There's a zombie apocalypse, and your boss is like, well, I still expect you to be at work. We got deliveries to make.
Yeah, it's just, it was just silly. It was very silly. But then at the same time, I was talking about like how it looks so pretty because it looked very nice, like a nice area. And then you're just a zombie like in a trash can or something next to it in this beautiful city, beautiful area. Then they showed this. I feel like they watched the podcast. It was like, all right, we ain't got 10 months, but we got like 3 weeks. Let's make something happen. It was like they made something happen. Maybe if Suicide Squad could move at the pace that they move, you know, maybe 10 months is plenty of time to like come up with a whole nother game, because they turned this into a whole nother presentation. It was no jokes anywhere. These guys was in a plane accident. Majority of people were dead. There was a person like trapped under debris. They couldn't lift them. It was like, we got to get out of here before more of them come. It was a way different tone. Then the main character was bitten himself. I don't know if they were going to do like a Ellie type situation with him. But yeah, it made me want to play. So I want to play for sure. I do want to play now a lot more. Before it was just like, oh, it's going to be a co-op thing. It's like, no, now they sold me a little bit more. So, yeah, I am interested in that. We can move on to some of our final topics for today. You want to tell me real quick what's going on with HBO?
Everything wrong. So HBO looked at their stuff and was like, hey, it ain't broke, but let's break it. So HBO Max will soon just be... And they did their own little state of play, like a little press conference, where what they said is it's Warner Bros. Discovery. So you have the Discovery app, and you had HBO Max. And where their complaints were that out of the subscribers for Discovery, they said 3/4, and I feel like they were just throwing out like the random easy to follow numbers, because I don't think it was legit 3/4, 1/4, but 3/4 of the Discovery people like watch and stream a lot of Discovery shows, because that's where you get your like reality TV shows, right? Your Kardashian like stuff, or your Bachelor like stuff, or your Survivor like stuff. Like that's where you get all of the reality shows. So people just watch those and let it stream in the background and play the next one.
Yeah.
Whereas for HBO Max, they said about 1/4 of their subscribers are consistently on HBO Max. But again, most of the people paid the $16 a month and they just went on there because of the movies. Like it was like a movie drops and it got to drop on HBO early. So then they watch the movie and then they're watching other stuff. So they don't feel like they were retaining their HBO subscribers, even though they didn't say people left. They just said 3/4 of them aren't consistently on it. They're probably watching some other streaming app. So to try and fix this, they're relaunching HBO Max, and it's now going to be called Max. And they're focusing on pretty much like things that they know will work. So like a new Harry Potter series, which I'll talk about in a second. And then other like series that they like, a Big Bang Theory spinoff is what they're working on. So it's like things that they feel like would be successful. They got all your DC stuff, but then they're bringing in some of the Discovery shows. So like some of the reality TV that nobody watched on HBO, they're bringing those over to HBO for some reason. And there's even one where it's called I can't remember the name of it, Lost in Translation or something like that, where it's a bunch of hot people thrown on an island, right? A bunch of guys and a bunch of girls, like 6 guys and 6 girls. And it's like, who will fall in love? Like one of those. The only premise, the thing is, the twist is that none of the girls speak English and the guys only speak English. So that's supposed to be the show now. It's like, oh, will they fall in love because they're all hot and like that's it? And it's just
stupid.
Them going on dates, but they can't communicate with each other, and they're trying. It's just a dumb show that they're throwing on HBO for some reason, and it's trying to increase user, because they kept saying it was like the issue was there was more passive viewing or something like that for one of them and active viewing for the other. And they were complaining. Basically, it's just people ain't on HBO as much as they want them to be. And they also mentioned that, like, for Discovery, people will watch the, like, adjusted shows and things like that because it's all reality trash TV. Whereas for HBO, people watch what was on the front page and then left. And it was like, yeah, because they're watching the current movie.
Yeah.
And it's usually subscription stuff. That's what they want. They want you to, like, pay for the subscription and then forget you have it. So they just keep raking in money. Well, HBO's like, that's not good enough. And they're just going to be dropping, I guess, some shows and trying to revamp things. And I think it's just going to ruin it because now it's all these trash reality shows is going to be what's advertised and everything. Like, yo, watch this show and stay on and stay on and stay on. And it's like, no, I go on there to watch my DC comic stuff because y'all got rid of the DC universe. And occasionally I'll watch other stuff on there, but I'm not interested in, like, everything. Like, occasionally I watch a show. I watch Barry, the Last of Us show I watched on there. Uh, so there's like occasional shows that I watch, but I'm mainly on there for DC Comics stuff and some Cartoon Network stuff. And apparently that's not good enough.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
can't
it's
talk about Harry
gonna. I don't
Potter.
think it's gonna last that long because it's gonna backfire a little bit.
Oh, that's the other thing.
Uh,
If you have Discovery Plus, you do not have to move over to HBO. You can keep Discovery Plus and stay there. But if you have HBO Max, it'll soon just be converted into Max. And the price is still the same. It's still $10 for ads, $16 for no ads, and then $19 if you want 4K. Uh which I feel like, and I can't confirm it, but I feel like 4K was an option already, and now they're making it its own paid tier, which might be trash if that's what they're doing. But uh there basically was like, Discovery, you did what we wanted you to do, so you can just keep your app and you don't need to change anything. Move over if you want, but you don't have to. But for HBO, you now have to like see Discovery stuff because we want to keep you on here forever. And it's just like, I don't want to watch that crap. I want to watch, but put more DC shows on there, and I'll watch it. Like, I watch. Yeah, that's the other thing. I watch Titans, Peacemaker, Doom Patrol. You keep canceling the DC shows. Put more DC shows on there. I'll watch them.
yeah. Well,
So get ready for Max. Now, with that said, real
less
quick,
people gonna know what it is though. Overall,
yeah,
more people. If anything, it was. If you took, it should have been the opposite. It should have just been HBO. People know HBO. They don't know Max.
advertise their shows better. That's the issue. Is they don't do any advertising. How you mentioned with Game Pass, HBO doesn't advertise their shows, so I'm not deep diving on there to just see what's suggested and what to watch next. I'm gonna watch what I want to watch and then leave. Like, you're not advertising stuff. I don't know, but there's that. But they're making a new Harry Potter series where it's gonna be a TV series that really expands the book. So rather than doing something where original cast are now adults and they're focusing on their kids or doing something new, they're instead just going to pretty much really dive into what the books say and expound on that universe more, so it could like they don't have to skip stuff basically that was listed in the book. Uh, J.K. Rowling is going to be heavily involved. They just said that right away. That like she's going to really make sure things go smooth. And they were asked about like with all the controversy surrounding her, and the dude said, "Oh yeah, that's an online argument." Like he straight up just said like that's not a real thing. It's just online. Uh, but yeah, they're doing a Harry Potter series. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't think we need It's another reboot, basically. It's
Yeah.
another reboot.
I mean, they just gonna cash in. I don't know if she gonna make the same money that she made before. She might with the inflation. Who knows?
The her being heavily involved, all that means is what they're trying to do is for people who read the books,
Yeah.
let them know that it's not going to deviate from the books. If they let the writer of the book or writer of whoever be heavily involved, that means don't worry, we're not going to just be like, well, we didn't really like this aspect, so we're going to change it. There's less of that. It's going to be more faithful to the books. That's all.
So if anything, the first couple movies, because they made it way childlike as far as the movie was concerned, they would let the same dark elements be there as like the last couple movies. If
Things
anything,
like that. Yep, it'll be that
featuring
and,
all kids. Yeah.
more puzzles and then more issues with them and all that other stuff. But yeah, it'll be a much more consistent tone throughout. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. All I'm saying is I already know I'm gonna be real upset if they cast a black person to play Ron, the Weasley fan.
Of course, man. He gonna have the twisties kind of hairstyle and everything. Of course.
Oh man.
Because that's if anybody's gonna be worried about anything, like it'll be kind of weird. I don't want to be too political on it, but like the crowd that's against J.K. Rowling's is basically going to get a bunch of representation.
Yeah.
That's what you're probably going to expect, and then you're going to see like black people everywhere.
Yeah.
Sprinkled throughout it. Because I think in the show before, it was like only the one girl who was playing the game that I could like really point out versus
In the
like a
movies.
variety versus like everybody there, because it was like, what was the name of them kids where one of them had like the hair sticking up like alfalfa? What was the name of them? You remember them?
Oh, I don't remember, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just like a whole group of kids and they were doing their thing. Like that's all it really
Oh,
was.
the
Is
little
here the what? The Little
little
Rascals.
rat.
Yeah, they did have
Yep.
one black kid. Here is like when you see a huge hallway, big banquet area full of kids, you're gonna see a sprinkling a lot more of black people. Now what's funny is like in the show, they still kind of had that later on. Some of them even had prominent roles.
In the
But
movie.
yeah, in the movies, they
Yep.
were like secondary characters there. But I think in the show, they gonna pull off some April O'Neil type stuff. They gonna do that. You gonna see
I
some
wonder
Missy Elliott's, some more Missy
I-
Elliott's.
because there was a play that happened recently where they casted a black woman as Hermione. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised if they do that here, where a black woman's Hermione and then everybody else is still the same.
yeah.
But I don't want them to generically be like redhead family. Let's make them black.
Oh yeah. I'm expecting it. I'm expecting it. It'll be a really interesting thing because like the people who are trying to go to war with J.K. Rowling is like a lot of like check marks for them is going to be in there, and it's going to
Yep.
be like a muddy area too, especially if she goes as far as like casting herself as like a teacher or something to really
Oh, that would be so
to
great.
like really make herself look like a good guy and like put a whole bunch of like those type of characters in there and pay off somebody really well just to play it. Who knows? So it'll be a huge clown show if they do some stuff like that just to appease people. But I'll watch. I don't mind watching. I haven't started the game yet. You finished it. I think they might go ahead and they might work on the part 2 for the game.
They should.
I would have really just wanted more movies, and they just kept going past Harry Potter,
Yeah.
into the future.
I
I would
wanted
have
this
preferred
TV
that.
series to go past Harry Potter. I don't want another remake. Some people wanted it to be about Harry's dad. I didn't want that because then it creates continuity errors,
Yeah,
and things like that
yeah,
I don't want to deal with. And then if we go before that, Fantastic Beast already exists, and if you go before that, it's the Harry Potter game. So,
yeah,
like to me, it's just they should have went with the future. It should have been a new generation of kids. Uh, it don't even have to be like specifically focused on like Harry Potter's kid. It could have been a whole new cast that focused on it. That like there's a kid Potter that could be even a side character or something like that. This is some other kid's adventures.
What's funny is I remember before I was making the example, like if you're gonna be mad at her for making like additional 10 million when she's already worth 800, you pretty much wasting your time. That was just an example, but apparently she was making millions and millions and millions off of Hogwarts Legacy. Like she really
Oh.
did cash out. And if you talk about a TV show, she probably about to cash out again. At this point, just you lost. You did not win this battle. At this point, she's gonna, and if anything, then she probably it would give her enough time to write the next series if she does do that. So this is gonna probably go for a while. You're gonna see more Harry Potter because they're capitalizing off of the success of the game, success of some of the other material that they've put out recently. So hey, it is what it is. I will probably so this is gonna be on HBO, right? This is gonna be on it. And there's multiple seasons. So this ain't even, it don't even sound like Last of Us. It sounds like this is set to be big. It's gonna be a lot of different shows and a long time.
A season per book. So, and if they stick with the same cast, that means they're gonna like, depending on how they film it, right? Like they should be each year should be like an older year for them, like they did in the movies. But yeah, this is at least a 7-season
Yeah.
series going on at least.
It's not gonna be like Last of Us basically, because it sounds like they're gonna do one more season for Last of Us 2. And then that's it. This sounds like this is gonna last and it's gonna go for some years. If you talking about, because the movies was like 8 or 9 films, right? It was a. If you're talking about seasons of shows, because they don't come right back the very next year. Sometimes they take a year and a half. So you talking about possibly a decade of more Harry Potter, a decade of J.K. Rowling's making more money, and then she gonna retire probably. So unless she might go out like George Lucas at this point. We'll be talking about a decade of this, and then probably that gives you enough time to make movies with your writing and stuff. Yeah, she ain't going nowhere. She ain't going nowhere. That's it. A decade, my dude. You lost this war, homie. But yeah,
literary universe.
Yeah, she gonna be Vince McMahon. That's gonna be funny. Shout out to Vince, saying this is my company no matter what. Anyways, we're gonna end it short. It's gonna be a very, very short one. Stick around for the very next week. We're gonna record that one right now. It's gonna be all Nintendo news. So everything you've been hearing lately about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the new trailer, and then there's like these crazy stories of the wrath of Nintendo. And then I'm actually gonna talk about the Asus I think it's called ROG Ally, the thing that's supposed to like actually compete with the Steam Deck. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. I got more detail on that. And then I want to talk about everything that went on with the 3DS after the store went down. All of that is going to be on the next episode. Comment, share, subscribe. What's up?
I'll have details about the Mario movie.
Oh yeah, in the Mario movie. He saw it. I didn't. I might actually see it like right after that though. That's what's going to be funny. Or right before it actually goes out. Even though it's not like before the show goes out, but it would have been already recorded. So it's all convoluted, just like some of these storylines and some of these movies and stuff when they remake stuff. So sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you for the people watching the TV not TV show. Thank you for the people watching my last video about the 20 games, because it looks like the views have been going up ever since we've been recording. So thank you for those people. I am already working on the next one. I got 9 games already for the next video. It's not going to always be 20. It might be less, might be more, but I already got 9. So I'm already working on the next one of that one. Anyways, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy this beautiful weather. I will see you on the next episode. Peace.